guys, welcome back to LS Vintage Design. How's everyone doing? I hope you're having an amazing day. Today we are going to talk about weddings, but first I want to talk about some new things in my Etsy shop, and I want to give you some video footage of my booth in Palestine at Old Magnolia Mercantile. I'll put the address down below, so if you want to go check them out, they have an awesome sandwich shop. Both sides are open now, both roads are open, so head down there if you're in the area and check everything out. So I'll pop that video in right here. Back at the booth, we did some updating, added some new things. We've got this great two-tiered vintage floral tray. It's beautiful. It's got a hint of gold trim paired with some swing vases from the 50s. It picks up the different flower colors. We've got this great grape harvest milk glass. Guys, you don't want to miss out on that, especially if you're hosting this summer or for a wedding. We've got more pieces of that right here. We've got this beautiful vintage candelabra with these gorgeous glasses, and look how the details on your table, a table setting, a table display, that would look amazing. Then we've got our yellow square Pyrex. Pair that with our vintage hand-painted fruit tray, our bee glasses, and our yellow vase, and it's screaming summer. Of course, over here we have the green section. Look at this. How cute would this be in your kitchen or in a dining room? Pair it with our vintage candy tray. These glasses right here, paired with that, paired with these. Guys, it is pistol resistance. And look at these. So come on down. There's so many pieces you can choose from, and you can create a whole tablescape and give the person that loves to bake beautiful vintage dishes that have lasted the test of time. We have our Tupperware section. Vintage Tupperware never goes old, never goes off style. And guys, these are in like new condition, so I would come get them. I have a bunch of different pieces. I have a small cheese grater. I also have the large cheese grater. And then over here we have some wall decor. These are vintage 1950s pebble art. So are these, and if you love vintage, these are going to go away in the next 2 weeks. So I would come grab them. We have our wall hanging for outside. It's so cute. It's a planter pocket. And then of course we just added this western piece, great for any home. We have this vintage suitcase. It does open. It's a little difficult, but it does open. Our big vases. And then we've added some really cool mid-century modern 1950s lamp, and then a 1980s heavy brass lamp. Now, if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you've already seen that. But if you don't, there you go. Let's talk Etsy shop and some ideas and some things that are in the Etsy shop, including bundles. I have put together a few bundles, and I have more coming for Father's Day, that the items just go together. It just makes sense to buy them together. There is a baking bundle here. Great bundle, fun. It's a vintage corn flour loaf pan for bread, meatloaf, whatever you want to have in a loaf form, and the big measuring cup and the sifter. The sifter is rusty, but it would be a great Pinterest moment. And of course the sifter, if you clean it and coat it with FDA approved materials, you could use it. But you could also use it for decor in your kitchen, or like I said, great Instagram, Pinterest moments. So there is that bundle. Now, going up this week, we're going to have, there's also a vintage mid-century modern bar bundle up there. Great. It's a vintage red MCM authentic ice bucket with the vintage bar set. Everything's got, it's really cool. So you need to go check that out as well. Now, again, we will be putting some Father's Day items up there as well. I did want to show you a few things that are backlisted. These brooches are all listed, and we're going to talk about those more in our upcoming wedding video, which is right when I get through yapping here. We also we're going to have a little military buff bundle going up. So if Dad loves the military collectibles, I have some very different ones that he may not have that he may be interested in. So just check out my Etsy. Again, it's listed down below. Now, what's going up soon in the Etsy shop, soon as in tomorrow, Monday, 6/7, are these gum cards. And these are very cool. They are not graded, but they look like they're in great condition to me. They're a World War II series, and one is 1938. This one is 1938. And the other three are 1939. And there's 4. So again, these are a military collectible and will be in our Etsy shop, along with a lot of other great stuff. I did work really hard, and like I said, I've been listing more stuff, so just check it out and keep checking it out. I am trying to get more and more stuff listed for you guys. And for all those that love Rae Dunn, I have a sugar canister up there, Rae Dunn, and I have a sand canister. Does not have the lid, but you know, you could put seashells in that. You could use it for a vase. Very cool look to it. Okay, so I've talked to the booth. I showed you what's in the booth. I've posted some photos, so you saw some of the stuff that is new in the Etsy shop. Now, we're going to get to today's video. What is today's video? I did a Facebook page, Instagram post on it last week or the week before. Might have been 2 weeks, sorry. I had 2 sick dogs last week, so anyway. And I talked about using vintage for weddings. Now, I am going to host an event locally and invite wedding planners from my area, brides. If you want to be invited, drop me a comment down below or message me on there is a work email on here. Message me through my work email or through my website if you want to be invited because you're in the Texas area, and let me know. I am working on the guest list. I might have to do 2 sessions depending on response. So, and I do need you to RSVP, and if you're not going to come after you RSVP, I do need you to cancel, just because there will be a waiting list. But I'm going to show you how to create a very unique and different wedding. Might even be Vogue worthy, and I'm not joking. So let's just share some ideas on here. I'm not going to give away our whole vintage wedding setup ideas, but I will show you some sneak peeks. A lot of people have a rehearsal dinner, a rehearsal barbecue, whatever, so you can practice walking down the aisle. If you have more than one or none, if you have no bridesmaids, you may not want to practice. But if you have more than one, flower girls, ring bearers, all that, of course you're going to have a rehearsal dinner because everybody might need to practice. And of course now the whole thing is to have multi-day wedding events. So let's say you're going to have a barbecue or a cozy, vibing dinner or cocktail hour the night before the wedding. What could you use to set the mood in that? You could use vintage. One, you could use the vintage highball glasses like this or this. These are beautiful. They would look really gorgeous at a moody, kind of low lighting event, and they would stand up well to a barbecue or steak dinner or any other type of food you want to have. Decor, you're going to want interesting decor on your table that has nothing to do with what people are going to see at the wedding, at the reception, or at the brunch before everybody leaves the day after. So you're going to want to see something totally different. And I always kind of equate the rehearsal dinner the night before the wedding. I gear that more towards the groom. The wedding and the reception, those are all more geared towards the bride. I mean, face it, they are. So I like to take the night before the wedding, the rehearsal dinner, or whatever you call it, and gear that more towards the guys, the grooms. So it's more moody. It's maybe a little darker, not so bright. It's maybe, like I said, a little heavier food, like a barbecue or a steak. And it's just got a really kind of old world, leather club, vintage kind of library, men's club feel to it. But the women are all there enjoying it too. So I'm going to give you a couple of decor ideas for that now that I've set the mood. And believe it or not, nothing says moody but elegant, kind of manly, more than mid-century modern teak candlesticks. And yes, this is real. My battery's about to die. I will be. Sometimes these off-brand batteries don't last as long. The one I took out was a Canon. So we'll see. I hope we don't have another interruption. But these candles, these are old library, old men's club vibe. Yes, they're still delicate though. You've got the delicate shape. So they're still feminine, but they're very much moody. They would look beautiful on a long serving table or a long table where your guests are sitting. You can put moody colored candles on them to reflect the vibe of whatever theme you have for your rehearsal dinner or night before the wedding dinner, okay? And remember, you're going to pair that with vintage highball glasses, vintage whiskey glasses. These candlesticks would look amazing. And of course, you can always pair it with our vintage bar set as well. Because again, you've got the moody vibe coming into this beautiful setting. Because we're going to have light, bright, just gorgeous florals, very feminine on the wedding day and the reception. And even the brunch, I find when people have those the day after the wedding, tends to be more feminine and geared toward the bride. So like I said, I always love the night before the wedding to be geared more towards the groom and that more masculine vibe. So anyway, these are beautiful, and like I said, you can pair these with our vintage bar set here, because look, they go, because they're from the same time period. And you even have a vintage cocktail boat. So, you know, it could all work. And that would be it. I mean, you don't have to have a lot of vintage to make something pop, to set something off. You don't have to have every single inch of your event or your wedding or your night before, whatever, baby shower, anything. It doesn't all have to be vintage. You have little touches and it brings the look together. So that is for the night before, the rehearsal dinner, night before the wedding dinner, whatever you call it. And that's more geared toward him while you still have the feminine, because those candlesticks, again, I'll show you, have a very feminine figure vibe to them. So you're bringing her in, but this is more celebrating him. And again, with the food, the drinks, all of that. Okay, so now you've had your night before. It's the morning of the wedding. You're up early. You have your hair being done. You have your makeup being done. Where are you? Well, most of the time, you're getting ready on site at the wedding venue, wherever that may be. And that's awesome. But what what better way, because you want to have, let me start over. On your wedding day, you want to have hints of vintage all the way through, sprinkled all the way through. So how can you do that? Well, first you can have the setup where your girls and you are getting ready. The bride suite, okay, where the bride and her bride start in the bridal suite where you're getting ready. And of course, we all know the old saying, something white, something borrowed, something new, something blue, something old, whatever the old saying. Okay, so that's going to be on the bride herself. Beautiful. Got some other ideas. And for the groom. But first, we're in the bridal suite and we're doing hair and makeup, right? How can you make this even to the next level with just a little sprinkle of vintage? And what am I talking about? Now, I'm not going to talk too much about this because you're going to have to come to my lecture, or maybe I'll do a full-blown on this after the event, the wedding event, but we'll see. Vintage vanity trays. And I have ideas for this that I'll share in that event, but vintage vanity trays, okay? Just a little sprinkle of vintage. There's more, but that's a secret. One other thing you could do is pair your vintage vanity trays with vintage brush comb mirror sets, okay? That's going to make your, there is a big truck going by, I swear. That's going to make your bridal suite, where everybody's in there getting makeup, hair, getting dressed, just chef's kiss. A little sprinkle of vintage. Okay, for our bride. Now, maybe her dress is vintage. We don't know. Everybody's different, and that's up to everybody. Maybe you have some vintage lace or lace work that you had added to your dress, maybe off of mom's or grandma's. Again, just an idea. Another idea is on the bouquet, at the base, you could have a vintage brooch pinned to your bouquet. And vintage brooches come in all price ranges. They come in silver, gold plated, whatever you want, whatever anybody wants. And I'm just going to show you a few that I have. Doesn't mean it's for your bridal bouquet. I'm just going to show you a few. This is a vintage shooting star. If you're, your wedding is sending you to the moon and back, maybe a little star brooch. That one is $30, $29.99. This one is a rare vintage Liz Claiborne rose brooch. It's gorgeous. So maybe your flowers are roses at your wedding. A vintage little rose pinned daintily to the handle of your bouquet. This one is an antique Victorian brooch. Okay, maybe your wedding's a little more leveled up. But get this. Okay, so we've got the bride dressed. She's good. Her suite had a sprinkle of vintage. She has a sprinkle of vintage, whether it's lace, whether it's her dress, lace attached to her dress, maybe something she's wearing, like a vintage necklace from mom, grandma, bracelet, you know the whole drill. Or it's just a little vintage brooch on her bouquet. Okay, so she's walking down the aisle. What about him? We can't leave him out. I feel like the grooms get left out of so much. Guys, the style now in New York in fashion, men wearing brooches. Get a brooch for him. Instead of a boutonniere, put a brooch on him. Put a brooch on the groomsman. Boom. Vintage done for the bridegroom, done. Okay, the wedding has its sprinkle. It's perfect. Now, let's go to the reception. What kind of reception are we having? Well, mostly now we always have food. We always have food, which is cool. Food is fun. Is this going to be a more outdoor, maybe we didn't have barbecue the night before, maybe we had steak, so today we're having barbecue. Maybe you are a more Western or outdoorsy person and you want to go that route. So what can you do for your decor then? Vintage mason jars with simple bouquets of baby breasts on the tables. Very inexpensive, big impact because you use real vintage mason jars, not cheap ones from a grocery store. Or your tables can be a mix of vintage items, kind of that outdoor Western eclectic mix. A vintage wire egg basket on one. You could fill it with napkins. You could put florals in it, whatever you want to do. It's a vintage iron candle holder. Very outdoorsy. Love this thing. Okay, you could have a mix of different things on your tables. There's a little sprinkle. And we go back to the night before. If you bought vintage glasses, highball glasses for the night before and your wedding party, your wedding reception's not huge, pull those glasses out again. Pull the stuff you used the night before into the reception. Saves you money, keeps a theme going, and gives you a little sprinkle of vintage. Now lastly, the brunch. And you might be going, oh, come on, girl. Nobody has weddings like this. Some people do. Some people do. You would be surprised at how weddings went from a rehearsal dinner, wedding day event to now they're multiple days. And I'm not talking just movie stars and rich people. A lot of people do this. Okay. Now we're to the morning after. We're to the brunch before everybody goes home, catches flights, drives home, whatever. And this is normally a smaller group. Okay, this is normally the bride and groom, parents, grandparents, siblings, and best friends. That core group that has been there from the very beginning, they hang out. These are the people that go to the brunch. Normally this is done at a restaurant. Maybe even the hotel restaurant or the resort restaurant if you're staying somewhere like that. Maybe you go to a local restaurant on the way to the airport or whatever. So how do you sprinkle in a little vintage to that? You could have a vintage outfit for travel day. Beautiful way for the bride and groom to bring a little vintage in. He could channel a little vintage 60s male with some slacks and a polo and a sweater if he wanted to be a preppy. If not, that's cool. You could bring in a vintage Chanel little summer dress or winter dress, depending on the time of year. So the bride and groom could bring vintage in with their clothes. They could also bring it in with wearing a vintage piece. Maybe they didn't have to give that vintage necklace or bracelet back to grandma or mom after the wedding, so they're wearing that to brunch. Okay, simple ways for the bride and groom to sprinkle in a little vintage. Bags, handbags, ladies, vintage purses are a great way to look top of your game, even though you've just had a hectic, you're exhausted, wedding party days of it and you want to go home, you want to look put together. Modern dress, vintage bag. Great way to do it and great way to keep that theme going through the whole weekend. And the vintage bags and clothes can also go to the first day everybody gathers. Okay? We don't have to be locked in on just the days surrounding the wedding. It can be the weekend everybody travels too, or the day everybody travels. So vintage clothing pieces, vintage accessories are a wonderful way to bring everything together. It's a little sprinkle of vintage and easy to do for him and her. Now, let's say you and the groom had planned a little gift for mom and dad, both moms, both dads, for all they've done, being so awesome, or maybe your best friend, or maybe a sister, or a brother, whatever, and you want to give them a little gift to say thank you, you rock, you've helped me, thank you. So, you can bring vintage, sprinkle it all the way through your event. The arrival day and the departure day can have the same sprinkle. Again, we're not trying to break the bank with vintage anything. We're trying to bring it back into our lives because it adds so much interest. It adds something that hasn't been around in a long time, and it makes events, people, places unique. So guys, I hope you like these ideas for making your wedding or friend's wedding interesting. Now, if you want the nitty-gritty details that I did not share on here, you're going to have to come to the wedding event that I'm going to be sponsoring, hopefully in July. Guys, thank you for being here. I'm super excited. Check out our bundles in my Etsy shop. If you live in the area, check out my booth. Again, I'll put the little clip of what's in the booth at the end of the video. Take care, guys. Bye-bye. Alright guys, we're back at the booth. We did some updating, added some new things. We've got this great two-tiered vintage floral tray. It's beautiful. It's got a hint of gold trim paired with some swing vases from the 50s. It picks up the different flower colors. We've got this great grape harvest milk glass. Guys, you don't want to miss out on that, especially if you're hosting this summer for a wedding. We've got more pieces of that right here. We've got this beautiful vintage candelabra with these gorgeous glasses, and look how the details on your table, a table setting, a table display, that would look amazing. Then we've got our yellow square Pyrex. Pair that with our vintage hand-painted fruit tray, our bee glasses, and our yellow vase, and it's screaming summer. Of course, over here we have the green section. Look at this. How cute would this be in your kitchen or in a dining room? Pair it with our vintage candy tray. These glasses right here, paired with that, paired with these. Guys, it is piece de resistance. And look at these. So come on down. There's so many pieces you can choose from, and you can create a whole tablescape and give the person that loves to bake beautiful vintage dishes that have lasted the test of time. We have our Tupperware section. Vintage Tupperware never goes old, never goes off style. And guys, these are in like new condition, so I would come get them. I have a bunch of different pieces. I have a small cheese grater. I also have the large cheese grater. And then over here we have some wall decor. These are vintage 1950s pebble art. So are these, and if you love vintage, these are going to go away in the next 2 weeks. So I would come grab them. We have our wall hanging for outside. It's so cute. It's a planter pocket. And then of course we just added this western piece, great for any home. We have this vintage suitcase. It does open. It's a little difficult, but it does open. Our big vases. And then we've added some really cool, a mid-century modern 1950s lamp, and then a 1980s heavy brass lamp. Guys, come down, check us out. You don't want to miss out.